Welcome back. Now I'd like to look at Blender's knife tool. So I'm going to zoom up on our cube here a little bit, and I'm going to tab into edit mode. And the first thing I'm going to do is point out that we have a knife tool over here, and in this case your hotkey, as you might have guessed, is K. So we're going to hit K. You'll see we get this little green box, and our cursor changes to a picture of a little scalpel or X-Acto knife or something along that line. Before we actually do anything, I want us to look down at the lower left corner of our viewport and see that Blender's going to tell us pretty much everything we need to know about our knife tool right down here. So let's just work through some of these. Left mouse button defines our cut lines. So let's have a look at that. I'm going to come up here, and you're going to see when I get close that we kind of snap to an edge. So we can snap to that edge, and I'm going to left mouse button, and then it's going to pull out a line, and I'll go down to this other edge here and left mouse button, and it's created a line. And we can see down in the lower left, right after that, it says return or spacebar to confirm. So we can either hit our enter key or our spacebar key, and we get a cut. Now we have two faces. Alright, I'm going to undo out of that. I'm going to hit my K tool again. We're going to look down there, and we're going to see after that it says escape or right mouse button to cancel. So if we're creating a line with our knife tool, if we right mouse button or hit escape, we simply cancel the operation, just like most everything else in Blender. Alright, let's do K again. Let's click on a line. Let's make another line. Here, let's make our line go down to this edge. And now let's look down there after that, and it says E equals new cut. Well, you can see if we don't do anything else, once we've clicked on our second edge, we can just pull out another cut and go somewhere else, and we can just keep clicking around until we hit spacebar. But what if we don't want all of these cuts to connect? Well, let's undo. Hit K for knife. Let's create a cut. And now let's hit E. And you'll see that we come free of our original cut. Now nothing's been committed yet, so if we right mouse button or hit escape, everything will undo. But we can move over here to this new edge and create another cut. And if we hit spacebar, we get two separate cuts. Very handy. Right, let's undo that again. Going to be a lot of undoing in this video. I'm sorry about that, but at least you'll get to hit the K button a lot and remember it. So we're going to hit K again. And this time we're going to look down and we're going to see that control is midpoint snap, and that's off. So let's hold down our control key and move up near a line, and we'll see it snaps to the center point of the line. It really doesn't matter where we move our scalpel along that. It's going to stay right in the center. So we'll left click. And we'll go down here, and we can make a line anywhere we want, or we can hold down control and it's going to snap that for us. And we can do the same thing over here, or we can do it with our newly created lines. It will still find that midpoint. And we can snap that. And that helps us get a little more perfectly placed lines if we're doing really detailed work. And we'll undo and hit K. Now we see Shift has ignore snap. So we'll come down here And we'll notice that, like I said before, when we get close to an edge, it kind of snaps to that edge. And that's what they're talking about with the shift key. It doesn't mean to hold down control and snap and then hold down shift and ignore the snap or anything like that. It just means that Blender's not going to help you. So if we hold down shift, you can see that we kind of go anywhere we want. We can get very close to that line and left click without having it connect on us. And left click, and this time we'll snap, and then we'll end. And we can get some very intricate shapes. Now, let's hit K again, and snapping on this first one's fine. But I've been making straight cuts across most of the face. That doesn't mean that if we don't left click, we can't left click a whole bunch. It makes some really interesting shapes, or letters, or numbers, or whatever we want to do. And that won't work. That'll work just fine. Let's undo. And let's hit K. And now, let's look at what happens if we don't complete somewhere on an edge. If we just end up out here in no man's land, and then we hit spacebar. That's basically like right mouse button clicking. It's not going to complete any operation because it doesn't know what you want. It doesn't understand how to end a cut in the middle of geometry. So we always have to find an edge somewhere, even if it's returning to where we started, to complete that operation. Alright, we also have something, if we look, called angle constraint. So let's hold down Control. Oh, I've got a couple edges going here. Let's try a different one. Let's hold Control here on the side. And that's got a split right in the middle, as you can see. And now we're going to hold down C for angle constraint. What that's going to do is give us a 45-degree increment, but you need to note that it doesn't look like it's a perfect 45 degrees on the cube, because it's not. It's a perfect 45 degrees on our view. So, if we want to go into an orthographic view, like 1, and hit K, and then hold down C. Now we get that perfect 45-degree cut. So be sure about the view you're in and whether you're in perspective or orthographic mode before putting that tool to use, because it will work, but it's always going to work with your view, not with your geometry. So you have to make your view match your geometry. Alright, let's undo that. And one last time, let's go to K. And we'll see at this time, at the very end, we see Z, which is cut through. This can be very, very handy. This time I'm going to start on this edge back here. I'm going to hit Z, and you'll see that it now says that that's turned on. And I'm going to come over here and make a cut, and I'm going to come down here and make a cut. And then I'm going to enter. Now, what cut through does is exactly what it sounds like. It's going to cut through our geometry. If we turn our cube around, we can see that we've gotten a cut all the way through based on the angle that we were looking at it again. Now this one's a little more forgiving if you're working in a perspective mode. But again, if you're looking to do something like hard surface, mechanical things, something like that, be sure you're going into very specific views in orthographic mode so that you get a perfect cut. All right, well, we've gotten a look at a lot of things with the knife tool. We've learned that we have it over here in our transform box. We've learned that once we go to K, that clicking our left mouse button determines where our cut will be, following a straight line for each click. We can make odd shapes by kind of clicking all over the place. Enter or space bar will complete our cut so long as we've completed our lines somewhere on an edge. Otherwise, it will simply cancel it. Like most things in Blender, escape or right mouse button will cancel the operation. If we've created one cut and we want to make an entirely new cut in the same operation, we can use our hotkey E to do that. We've learned that holding down Control gives us a midpoint snap on any edge that we're near to. We've learned that Shift will let us ignore Blender's automatic snapping when we get too close to an edge. C is an angle constraint that will give us constraints in 45-degree increments. However, that's from our view, so be sure you're in a view that works for you when you use it. And last but certainly not least, that Z, when we're in mid-operation, is our hotkey to cut all the way through our geometry, whether it's visible or not. Awesome! I think we've covered most of the stuff with the knife tool. Once again, as I've said in the last couple videos, this group of 4, 5, 6 videos are going to be operations that you use more than pretty much anything else in Blender ever, especially if you're going to focus on modeling. So be sure you know this stuff really well and that you spend a lot of time just playing with it. When you feel good about that, then I'll see you in the next video.